Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is a very special episode. So we're doing an addendum to my 2025. I'm going to stick it on the roadmap. And it came about because of a post from the wonderful Brandy, who posted her quotes for rating books in 2025 last week on Instagram. Filming this on the 23rd, and it was inspirational. That's the only word I can use for it. I went and I chose 6 quotes to rank books, and I chose 6 different authors, and I will put the quote up here and their star ranking when I talk about them. I will always link this video in the description box starting in 2025, because I'm going to say this was a Dickens book or a Sagan book, so that you have a reference. And I have read every author on I chose except one, and I am in the process of acquiring that book, and then I'm going to read it when it arrives. But the quote was perfection for me. Would it be easier if I said 5 stars, or it's a 1-star book? Absolutely it would. Would it have any meaning? No. This gives it meaning. It gives it some weight. And as you know, I stopped doing star ratings in mid-2023. I have not missed them. I don't find them very helpful, because what is a 5-star for me is obviously completely subjective. And I think it's a system of rating that has become overly relied upon. And there's no objective, this is what a 5-star means to me, type of standard. So, okay, I'm done pontificating. And so the first one is books that will stand the test of time. This is a 5-star rating for me. This is, I think, a perfectly descriptive quote of what a 5-star book means for me. Here's the quote. Books break the shackles of time. Proof that humans can work magic. This is from Carl Sagan. I have read Carl Sagan. And while he may not be some literary giant we all think of, the man was brilliant. And that truly encapsulates what a 5-star read is for me. It will withstand the test of time. And, there are easy examples we could all pick out. And it's all very subjective. But, here, let me go pull an example of a 5-star read for me. Okay, so I'm sure you all were expecting me to pick up In Pieces. And I'm not going to lie, that was my first gravitational choice. But I decided to highlight a different book. And for me, this is one I recommend all the time. Everyone to whom I've ever recommended this book has absolutely loved it. And that is The Queen's Governess by Karen Harper. And this is the story of Cat Ashley, who was Queen Elizabeth I's governess and friend and lifelong companion. And this book is under 400 pages. Cat Ashley was a real woman, and this is just an absolutely beautiful, timeless, transportive story. And it is definitely proof that humans can work magic. I have no better description than that. Then this is a Carl Sagan book. That's what this is. It is proof that humans can work magic. And if you haven't read it, I highly, highly recommend it. Okay, next up would be the thinker category. This would be the only author on this list I have not read. And that would be Haruki Murakami. I am currently ordering this book. This quote comes from his book, The Norwegian Wood. And for me, this is a 4-star book. And the quote is, "If you only read the books that everyone else is reading, you can only think what everyone else is thinking." That quote is so profound and really describes, as longtime viewers will know, my reading. I am not a huge hype reader. I don't tend to read what everyone else is reading. Do I on occasion? Obviously I do, but is it my first choice usually? No, it is not. And a great example of this, and this book is discussed in The 12 Days of Christmas. And I loved this book this year. I mean, I absolutely love this book, and you will get that. That is Miss Graham's Cold War Cookbook by Celia Rees. I have not seen anybody else discuss this. I have not seen anybody else read this. I don't know anybody else that's done it. It is a fantastic book, and it could easily fit under the Carl Sagan quote. But I chose it for the Murakami quote because no one else, I have not seen anyone else read this book. And I honestly think far more people should read it. And that isn't a surprise. So, okay. And next up would be Middle of the Road. This is a 3-star read. The quote is from Cicero. And it is, "A room without books is like a body without a soul." Do I need to say anything more? There are so many books that fit here, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with a 3-star read. There is nothing wrong with a 3-star read. It doesn't mean the book is bad. It doesn't mean you shouldn't read, anything else from that author. It doesn't mean that, the writing is subpar. It's just, you read it. You're good. You've gained something from the reading experience. But it's not likely that you're going to go back and reread it, even if you're a rereader. We all know I am not a rereader. And a good example of this, even though I absolutely love this book, would be The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. At least for me, I now know how it ends. So there's nothing left to discover. Can't talk about it in detail. Do I think everybody should read it? Absolutely. Do I think would I go on Storygraph or Goodreads or any of the other competing services and rank it a 3? No, I'd rank it a 5 because it's amazing. But is it, Carl Sagan amazing? No, because you read it once and you're done. You're not going to come back to it and find a comfort. For me, it's a read and it's done. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not I'm going to, repeatedly gravitate towards it. Am I unhauling it? No, I'm leaving it on my shelves. So, take that for what it is. Next up is the why did I read this ranking? These are 2 stars. And this quote is from G.K. Chesterton. And it's from Heretics, which I haven't read. I'm hoping to read it this year. We shall see if I get to it. And the quote is, "A good novel tells us the truth about its hero, but a bad novel tells us the truth about its author." Now, I need to go pull a book. I just figured out what this is. Hang on. So, I went and pulled books. The last 3 quotes, it's all a toss-up as to where the books belong. So, for this one, which is, why did I read this? I'm trying to decide which I'm going to choose. And I'm going to choose Hollythorn House, or In the Shelter of Hollythorn House by Sarah Elad. As you know, I've read this recently, and the author thought it was appropriate to stop in the middle of rescuing an infant to declare their undying love and kiss on the windswept moor. I wanted to hurl the book across the room. You all know how I feel about that book. And I have 3 more Sarah Elad books on my shelves. They are moved to the other room for a while. I need a break because the taste of that book is still in my mouth, and that is just not, a good thing. Next up is Culture Destroyers. This is a quote from Ray Bradbury. And it says, you don't have to burn books to destroy a culture. Just get people to stop reading them. And I am picking a book that I enjoyed, that is highly popular to be read. And, the next book is coming out in January. And it is definitely a culture destroyer. It is spicier than it needs to be. Yes, I skip all the spicy scenes. I don't need to read about it. I don't care. They add nothing to the story. They make sense in the story, but they don't need to be there. It has swearing in it, which again doesn't need to be there, but my brain has over the years learned to skip swearing, so I barely notice it. It's just one of those. She's a very good writer. She can tell a story, but she uses profanity and gratuitous sex to sell books, and she put it in a romantasy and it became very popular. This is book 2. It's the only one I own. That is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is going on the unhaul pile. Will I read books, the rest of the series? Probably. Is it, uplifting and, emotionally intelligent reading? Hi, could you lay down, please? No, it's absolutely trash. As Chrissy would put it, it's YA trash. It's just, her storytelling is good, but it is a culture destroyer. It cheapens relationships. It cheapens the English language. It cheapens the way humans speak to one another and think and express themselves. And I'm probably talking myself out of reading the rest of the series. Not a bad thing. Okay, last up. Would be, now that we have Felicity in our laps, the category of DNF. This is a quote from Dickens, from Oliver Twist. There are books of which the backs and covers are by far the best parts. Right, Felicity? And we all know I do not have a problem DNFing. Books aren't working for me. I set them down. Time is short, and I have too many things to read a bad book. But a great example of a book who the cover was the best part would be Bronte's Mistress by Finola Austin. I read, what was it, a third of this book? Yeah, almost half. And this is trash. I said it when I told you why I DNF'd it. My opinion has not changed. The cover is beautiful. The cover is compelling. It makes you want to open the book. And then you open the book and you realize it's full of 21st century drivel applied to Victorian England. And it is not worth time. DNFing that book was the best choice I ever made. Okay, so that is the addendum to the roadmap. I will see if I can pin this post on my blog. I will always have the video linked in the description box going forward for my rating system. So you know that, if I tell you a book is a Sagan book, it's 5 stars, or a Dickens book, it's a DNF, and you can reference what that means. Will I remember this 6 months from now? Who knows? But I now have a reference going forward for myself to, categorize books. And everyone will understand if I say something is, this is a middle of the road book. Doesn't mean I hate the book. It doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means it's a middle of the road book. I mean, for heaven's sakes, I love The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I recommend that book right, left, up, down, backwards, and forwards. But it's a middle of the road book. So, okay. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.